Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Isn't it amazing how companies don't think you're worth more money until some other company offers you more money? So let's start our video with the story in which the OP got into exactly this situation. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. I can't have a pay raise, but my work trip hotel bills are paid for? Okay. My first proper job was around 1990 in London, which is famously one of the most expensive cities in the world. My salary was £1,000 a month. Easy to remember. I don't know what the national or London average salary for a young graduate was back then, but I was definitely earning at the low end of the pay spectrum, especially since it was work that required some quite specialist skills and a lot of discretion. I can't give details without risk of making myself identifiable, but let's just say that the organization was owned by one of the wealthiest men in England, and my task was politically sensitive as I had access to private information about some very famous public people. The pay was bad, but I enjoyed the work, and one of its big perks was that I had to go to Paris for about 1 week each month. While I was there, my hotel was paid for automatically, and meals were reimbursed when I submitted receipts. Anyway, for several months, I felt that I'd proven myself to be hardworking, competent, reliable, discreet, etc., so I asked for a raise, explaining that I was finding it hard living in London on the salary. They could not fault my work, but brushed me off with vague suggestions that maybe we could revisit the question of pay at some unspecified later date. At this time, the place I was living in didn't have a washing machine, which was fine with me as I didn't want to spend a portion of my meager income on buying one. Plus, there was a laundrette very close by, and I enjoyed reading the newspapers each Sunday morning while my clothes went round and round in soapy circles. Once or twice, though, I had to go to Paris late in the week when I didn't have a lot of clean clothes. So I'd take what clean items I had and get some socks and underwear cleaned by the hotel laundry service after I'd worn them. It soon dawned on me that my bosses never queried the extra expensive laundry. Maybe the hotel just billed them for the total amount of each of my visits without itemizing the details? I don't know, and didn't ask. Apparently, I couldn't have a pay increase, but I could get laundry done at the hotel in Paris. Okay. For the rest of the time I worked in that job, I used to save up all my dirty clothes, including shirts, trousers, etc., and take them with me from London to Paris to have it laundered there. I felt a bit bad about this because hotels always charge exorbitant prices for this service. Cleaning my socks and underwear was maybe costing an extra £20 each trip I made, but I was saving myself £2 at the laundrette. There was never any fallout as such for the laundry issue. After a year, I told them that I'd been offered a paid internship in the USA, and they said they'd increase my salary if I stayed working for them in London. But I took great pleasure in telling them that their offer was too little, too late, and that I wasn't interested. And our next story. Buy Nothing group people driving me crazy. So I'm in my local Buy Nothing group, and I give away a lot of nice things in there. But recently, a few things have happened that make me want to stop doing it. I have a hoarder that lives across the street from me. I used to set out free piles, but she grabs stuff for herself before anyone else can even get to it. She's also in that group. I've given her quite a bit in the past within the group, but I stopped when I realized she's a hoarder. I've watched her get lots of things in that group, and it goes promptly to her garage and goes there to die, which is stacked full of crap from floor to ceiling. It's completely full of stuff. She doesn't give anything away in the group. I'd set out a bookcase on my front lawn yesterday, and it was meant for someone else in the group to come pick it up. I didn't have a free sign on it. My hoarder neighbor grabbed it and promptly took it across the street to her house. She's always sitting out in front of her house smoking and watching the neighborhood. I feel like I live in a fishbowl. It's very rare that I can open my front door and she isn't staring straight back at me. It drives me crazy. Yesterday, a lady in the group, who's ironically named Karen, came and got some free stuff from me, a lot of really nice cookbooks. Didn't once say thank you. She didn't even remember that she'd already come to my house 2 times recently for other stuff. I actually messaged her and said, "Thank you goes a long way and would have been appreciated." I blocked her after that. I'm so sick of people who can't even take the time to say thank you, but they literally comment on your post within minutes of you offering the free stuff. I posted 4 things in a group for free, and within a minute of posting, some lady commented on my post saying she wanted all 4 things and asked me to deliver them to her too. Then there was a girl in her 20s who was getting a new kitten and was asking for things for the kitten. I, of course, being an animal lover, wanted to help, so I asked her what she needed. She wanted everything, even kitty litter. I tried to talk to her a bit about how she would eventually need to make sure the kitten is spayed and if she needs help with that. I would pay for it and transport the kitten. She didn't have a car and needed me to drop the things off to her to and from the appointment. She said, "Well, I have to discuss that with my husband first because I might let her have a litter of kittens." What? So you're telling me you can't afford kitty litter? She said she couldn't afford it because she didn't get paid for 3 more days, or basically anything for this kitten, but you might let the kitten have a litter of kittens? I tried to nicely explain to her that I would help her, but the kitten really needs to be spayed and that there's a pet population problem with so many unwanted animals already, and asked her to please not contribute to the problem. I also explained that part of being a responsible pet owner is making sure you can provide for that animal, and the kitty litter, etc. is an ongoing expense. She told me I was rude and blocked me. I dropped the stuff off to her anyways because I wanted her to have it for the kitten's sake. I left a note with resources in our community for low-cost/free spaying. Then there was the lady who I gave a really nice living room rug to. Over 30 people had commented on this post in the Buy Nothing group and wanted it. I made the stupid mistake of choosing her. So after I did, she asked for more photos and said she wanted to see more photos before they would accept the rug. I sent her 15 additional photos of the rug. She waited a day between each reply, 2 days total, before replying back. She came and got it late, and I had to keep moving it in and out of the garage because it started raining. She then messaged me later that day and said, "I'm so disappointed. It looks way too blue in our space, and I'll need to give it away." Okay, crazy lady. I'd sent her 15 more photos, with and without flash, so she knew what color it was. She made it seem like I was trying to make her take the rug or something. I give away things in these groups to try to be a nice person, to try to do something nice for others. It'd be so much easier to just take the stuff to a donation center rather than to take the time to take photos, post, respond to people, tell them where I live, etc. It makes me feel like people are just out to get free stuff. And that's all they care about. It leaves me with an ick feeling when what I was hoping for was to feel like I'd done something that someone appreciates. You give them nice and free stuff, they only need to put in the effort, which most of the time is either at little or no cost. And our last story. He infringes my art, I shut down his shop, and ruined his career. A little backstory. I'm an online artist, and this took place when I was in my early 20s. There was a popular artist who calls himself a professional and works in the industries. I used to look up to him. Let's call him Zach. Lately, I noticed how Zach's art looked eerily too familiar to a piece of media I've seen before. So I looked up the images and found it too matched up to his art. He was directly referencing official art and profiting off it by selling it on his print shops online. He didn't make any effort to make the reference detaches from the original piece. I confronted him about sending a detailed message not to do that and the possible consequences. I've seen artists in real life who were sued for over $100,000 and to the extent in jail for doing what they did. Instead of being professional and mature about it, he lashed out at me and took it to social media, telling me how wrong I was to falsely accuse him since artists use references and how I could get sued for libel. I was dumbfounded at how clueless he was for not comprehending what I was talking about. He included my username, which my blog had links to my contacts, my emails, Facebook page, art account, and Instagram. His fans, including his group of friends, joined in, sending me downright horrific messages. I had panic attacks resulting from the pure backlash of his enormous fan base. I constantly received hate mail telling me how horrible I am as a person, how crappy my art was, and to the extent of death threats for almost an entire month. The straw that broke the camel's back was when he directly referenced off my art and made money off it. I didn't know how to find a lawyer, and I feel hopeless and angry that I couldn't do anything about it. Later it hit me. If I can't do it, then maybe another artist can, or anyone holds the copyright. The last time I remember, Zach never credited any of these artists for his references. I looked into the art he referenced and examined each official company matching Zach's art. I used Google search to find anyone working for a said company, and voila, I found a staff member for a branch in a different continent. Let's call him Cody. I contacted Cody's Facebook and tipped him about Zach's activity through Messenger. I uploaded and sent a copy of their art and Zach's art for comparison. Cody just simply replied, "We'll contact our legal team. Thanks for the notice." Another week passes by, and during the time he constantly posts to every damn thing I post about in my art blog, then silence. I checked, his print shop was removed. His response to my message was taken down from his social media. He stops talking to his friends publicly. Days later, a fan was asking about him, and he responded how he's no longer friends with them because they are a very toxic hypocrite. One of his former group of friends contacted my friend and cried about how awful a bully he was. Of course, my friend didn't care. It was the most glorifying feeling I've ever rejoiced. This would have been avoided if he at least had heeded my warnings. How he handled the situation was not professional at all. About 5 years later, I'd been informed that apparently he has a tough time getting back into the industry after there were allegations of his past copyright infringement. The biggest one was having a lawsuit with the big company Cody worked for. You tried to warn him, and then he thanks you by sending people to harass you. And then he gets shunned for reaping what he sowed. Karma is a beautiful thing. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the first one.